Good morning. Happy Thursday. So, a couple of days ago, Kevin McCarthy gave Tucker Carlson some additional footage from the January 6th insurrection. The people were in the Capitol for hours. So, there were times when they were congregated as like a mosh pit mob, trying to break down doors and defecate in the Capitol and flash in their weapons of how they wanted to tie up and assassinate some of the members of Congress. They wanted to hang Mike Pence, right? That was presented. Those scenes of the insurrection were presented during the impeachment trial, right? So he gets these images of people who are basically milling about, probably taking a break, because not everybody wants to be in a mob like that, like at all times, and so they do take breaks, right? So let's cover this.
It's interesting what's going on here with Tucker Carlson, because the Republicans in the Senate, in particular, are hammering Tucker Carlson. Simultaneously, we should say that there have been new revelations in the Dominion suit that show Tucker Carlson, hates Donald Trump. He's a fraud. The guy's a fraud. I mean, he can hate Donald Trump.
Has Donald Trump, by the way, has he responded to these revelations that are coming out about the Fox News texts that were revealed in discovery of this Dominion lawsuit? Because I imagine, for as narcissistic as he is, that would be a real big blow to his ego, and he would want to say something about it, because he has to say something about everything, right?
I may personally hate Joe Biden, but still can speak well of his policies or ill of his policies. I mean, that's fine. But Tucker Carlson's a fraud. Everybody knows it. Let's just start with Kevin McCarthy trying to justify giving access to all of the congressional video footage to Tucker Carlson, who picked moments where there was no violence, literally minutes of hundreds of hours of camera footage where there was no violence, to prove nothing violent happened that day. Seth Meyer had a great joke where he showed a clip of from John Wick, that Keanu Reeves movie where John Wick is feeding his puppy and going don't tell me John Wick is a violent guy. He's feeding his puppy. So Kevin McCarthy now has really blundered into this because the Senate is pissed at him. Here's Kevin McCarthy trying to justify this stuff.
All right.
Future, I am Cassius, god of cash back.
What are you looking for?
Kanaki.
Gnocchi?
Okay.
Because of the footage that you gave Tucker Carlson last night, he went on and said this was a mostly peaceful chaos. As he said, he downplayed Brian Sicknick's death, said it was not related to January 6th, said this was not an insurrection. Do you regret giving him this footage so he could whitewash the events of that day?
No, I said at the very beginning, transparency. And so what I wanted to produce for everybody is exactly what I said, that people could actually look at it and see what's gone on that day.
Well, why, Mr. Speaker, portrayal of what happened that day?
Look, each person can come up with their own conclusion, but what I just wanted to make sure is I had transparency.
Do you believe?
Because I know in CNN, I had here where you guys actually broke where we were. This was a secret location, Fort McLeod. I don't know if you got concerned by that. I don't even know from a point of view of security if we could ever be taken there again. But when you broke that at CNN, that was a real concern to a lot of people. I had a real concern also when I wanted to make sure transparency. Look, the officer's death is tragic.
Wow.
Okay, and incidentally,
Hang on before we move forward. There is a Democratic challenger in Kevin McCarthy's district in Bakersfield, and his name's John Burrows. Valley native, small business owner, proud Democrat, running against Kevin McCarthy in CAA 20. Tweets by John, signed JB. Okay, so he obviously he's allowing everyone, he's letting you all know that he does have a social media manager, and so therefore not every tweet is going to come from him directly, right? So let's take a look at this guy.
California Central Valley. I've witnessed firsthand the harmful policies pushed by Kevin McCarthy and his far-right allies on our small-town communities. While Kevin McCarthy makes secret deals with extremists like Marjorie Taylor Greene and George Santos, our community is left to suffer from preventable violence, undrinkable water, and a lopsided economy that favors the rich and punishes the middle class. I'm running for Congress to defeat Kevin McCarthy and bring real change to the 20th District. I was raised by a single mother who had zero quit. She raised me to have a hard work ethic, be true to what I believe in, and do right by others. Unlike Kevin McCarthy, I'll never sell out Valley families. After 2 decades in Congress, Kevin refused to take action against the mob that stormed our Capitol. Kevin still refuses to address our district's highest in the nation homicide rate. Enough is enough. I'm running for Congress to take back our district, to take back our future, and to take down Kevin McCarthy. But I need your help. Donate at burrowsforcongress.com.
Okay. So that's interesting that he says that basically his district, Bakersfield, has the highest homicide rate in the nation. That's a very interesting statistic. I didn't realize that particular area of California was so dangerous, but it's mostly the businesses, the type of economy they have in that area is mostly agriculture. So the topics are going to be driven very much by water politics, which is why he talked about having clean drinking water, but he showed an image of watering crops. He seems to have a decent following on Twitter. I can tell he's working with a consultant who probably works with Harley Ruda, and it's probably the same consultant that worked with Harley Ruda and worked with Christy Smith and worked with the one that was running in San Diego against... why am I spacing on that guy's name? I can't remember either their names. Daryl Issa. He ran against Daryl Issa. I know he's on my friends list, but I can't remember his name. The thing is, okay, so what's going on with this John Burrows guy, though, is he seems to be building up a decent Twitter profile, but he's got nothing on Facebook, and that's where most of the voters reside. Like the likely voters, that's where most of the likely voters reside. And so I did reach out to his campaign to ask if I could, talk to them about his effort on social media, and also to give them some ideas about field strategy, since I was a team leader for a while. They haven't gotten back to me, so I don't know how serious this campaign is if they're not working with local activists. I don't know. Let's go back to this.
the Capitol Police basically said this was a horrific thing to do. Mitch McConnell, rank-and-file Republican senators, also largely rejected Fox personality Tucker Carlson's vision of the deadly attempted insurrection as a mostly peaceful protest that involved little violence. McConnell said this: "It was a mistake in my view for Fox News to depict it in a way that's completely at variance with what our chief law enforcement official here at the Capitol thinks." Senator Kevin Cramer,
North Dakota.
from North Dakota, Republican, To somehow put January 6th in the same category as a permitted peaceful protest is just a lie.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty serious.
He's not usually such an independent guy. But North Dakotans, I mean, in my anecdotal experience, weren't pleased by what they saw on January 6th, and most wanted to think it was Antifa
Mike Rounds.
staging something.
Mike Rounds, South Dakota. I was there on January 6th. I saw what happened. It was violence. It was an insurrection. These are the Republicans.
Right.
It's fascinating to see the cleave of the House and the Senate on this particular issue, too, that, like, McCarthy, obviously the standard bearer for the House, still pretty ardently defending it, and then rank and file up to McConnell being like, this is kind of nonsense that Fox is putting out there.
Yeah, can we just address the transparency claim?
Well, hold on.
Well, I think that they're probably a little concerned that they might get sucked up into the Dominion lawsuit if they keep supporting Fox News' bullshit. They could potentially get sucked up for defamation too. You know? Because there's more than just the Dominion lawsuit going on. There's other lawsuits going on around. There's, like, Trump is facing several lawsuits of people who are going after him with civil suits, for the pain and suffering and, injuries they sustained on that day due to his actions. So there's a lot of lawsuits going on. And death of relatives, right? There's a lot of lawsuits going on.
1 second, I want to get there. I'm going to get there. Manger, who is this, I guess, the Capitol Police guy. The most disturbing accusation from last night was our late friend colleague, Brian Sicknick's death had nothing to do with his actions on January 6th. Had Sicknick not fought valiantly for hours on the day he was violently assaulted, his Sicknick would not have died the next day.
Right.
But let's talk about Senator John Neely Kennedy for Republican Louisiana. I was there on January 6th. It was not peaceful. It was an abomination. The idea that the Capitol Police served as...
By the way, going back to what Kevin McCarthy said about CNN releasing the, I guess probably video footage of where they were hiding or whatever, that was all documented during the impeachment trial. They had like maps of, that was all presented in front of Congress, in front of the Senate. It was, they had maps showing where the mob was in relation to where the congressional staff, you know, the Congress, House and Senate, where they were hiding. There was tons of footage released during the impeachment trial. So it's ridiculous to cast blame on CNN for releasing something that was probably already out there, because they presented that as part of their case for impeachment.
Tour guides for the QAnon shaman was outrageous and false, said Manger. Some Republicans have privately criticized the decision to give Carlson exclusive access to the footage.
Yeah.
An irritated Representative Mike Turner, Ohio, said, what would help the partisan tenor is if you actually interviewed us on why you invited us on your show, which is talk about my job and chairman. Okay, because he was pissed that he had to deal with this stuff. Mm-hmm. But here's the point. I just want you to think about this, regardless of where you are on like sort of like the, you know, the political spectrum. Is it right for McCarthy, who wants to have transparency about these tapes? I don't think that concept is necessarily bad. I think if you give an opportunity for like the Capitol Police to say like, we got to take this part out, we got to take that part out because this is really too sensitive. Maybe there are none of those.
I'm fairly certain that his motivation is that they actually put a serious Democratic challenger in his district. And based on the Twitter presence, he's doing okay over there. But that's not going to be good enough. He's going to have to build up his Facebook presence And whoever y'all using, because I know there are a lot of party people who watch my channel. There's party officials who watch my channel. You got to get rid of this consultant. These hashtags of, I think the hashtag that I saw him using was people over politics. That's the same bullshit as country over party, right? These are not good hashtags. They don't resonate. And if you're not building up his profile on all of the major social media platforms, including Facebook, where the most likely voters reside, it's going to be very difficult for us to overtake Kevin McCarthy, who is the top fundraiser in the House, period. He's the top fundraiser in the House. So you got to figure out your strategy a bit better, and that's why I reached out to his campaign, but y'all didn't call me back, so, you know, you do you, whatever. But this is probably why Kevin made the move that he did, because he's looking for allies right now. He needs Fox News. And so he's trying to, you know, throw them a bone.
And we should release these tapes to the public. That's what transparency is. Mitt Romney has another idea of transparency. I can't forecast what Speaker McCarthy was thinking about, but if you're going to give footage, give it to all the networks, not just one.
Or just throw it online.
I think it's dangerous to suggest, the thing to do to suggest it. Well, the point is that transparency can take a couple of different forms. It could be like, we're going to give this to a bunch of reporters, like across the spectrum, all the networks, let's say. Or we're going to put it online and just make it the Smithsonian.
Open source is like the Nixon tapes.
Yeah, the Smithsonian.
Right.
Whatever. But the concept of the Speaker of the House, who clearly has an agenda, giving it to one reporter or even a couple of reporters at that network, let's say, who clearly have an agenda,
Right.
is messed up. It speaks poorly on Kevin McCarthy and his complete fabricated lie. It also speaks poorly on those reporters because obviously they're just cherry picking what is making their narrative. Now, if you see a parallel with other recent dumps of documents or information to a select few of ideological reporters, well, I think that's a fair comparison. And why it's both corrupt from the perspective of the person who wants a story being told and from the person who's telling the story.
Well, and the timing is really odd, too, because normally when they do news dumps like that, it'll happen on Friday afternoon. That is typically when news dumps occur because it makes it more difficult for the person who's being targeted by the false information to respond. So the fact that I think he released this on Tuesday, right? Or maybe he gave it to him a little bit earlier or something, and Tucker's team had to go through it, right? To cherry pick the scenes that they wanted to show and make it look like everybody was just cool. They were just like milling about, which is fucking ridiculous. I mean, we saw the destruction to what happened. We saw the mobs. We saw them climbing all over the place. We saw them with their weapons. Like that, there's so much footage to try and be like, no, they were just hanging out and sightseeing. We're just hanging out and sightseeing. So obviously it was a political move for Kevin McCarthy because for whatever reason, he obviously is throwing a bone to Fox News, who's going through a lawsuit right now and needs a distraction to have their viewership not think about this lawsuit. But I'd have to wonder, like, who in America at this point can watch Fox News and believe anything that they say? Like, how can you believe any of it?
Because McCarthy's not giving footage to MSNBC or to Al Jazeera or to CNN or to One America Network or whatever it is. He's just giving it to Tucker Carlson. And guess what? Tucker Carlson has an agenda.
Yeah, the truth. Fighting wokeness.
Or just like an analog, like if it were, for example, Hakeem Jeffries instead, and giving it to Chris Hayes.
Honestly,
giving it to Lawrence,
would there be 30 seconds where people were like, "Are you kidding?"
Right.
giving it to Lawrence O'Donnell or something like that. Just some like take your pick. Like it would be front page news forever on the right. It's
for decades. Also, another analogy.
Well, that's also because their viewer base believes that all politicians are corrupt, and so they just accept it. They just think, okay, well, they're gonna do stuff like this anyway. They all are corrupt. They're all doing something wrong. That's a horrible storyline to move with when there are people in both parties that actually do act ethically. They may disagree with their political positions, but there's far more of them in the Democratic Party than there are in the Republican Party, because these particular districts keep voting in people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz and George Santos. Like when you have these Republican districts deciding that moral values don't matter, ethics don't matter, then that's the kind of crap we get in the House, right, and the White House when Trump was in.
If Chris Hayes or let's say Phil Griffin gave like an ad that was going to run from Republicans, from Donald Trump on MSNBC and gave it to the Biden campaign, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it'd be a big deal.
Or if, Chris Hayes was shown to be like, just imagine for a moment. Here it is. This is the email. This comes from the discovery from the Dominion suit. This is from. And we know it's from
Rupert Murdoch to Jared Kushner. And below you start to go to bottom up.
Your advertisement, Adva, at 1 p.m. this Sunday is an improvement. This is back, I think, when Fox owned. Did they still own Fox? Oh, they still own Fox Sports. 1 p.m. on this Sunday is going to be a football game. That's going to be a national ad. But Biden is in the same football is extremely good, or I think so. We'll send it. Not even a hesitation. He's sending advances of ads that he thinks is really good. Maybe you want to counter this ad before it comes out.
Yeah, because in the September 24th one below, he says, Jared, know you are spending less on TV than Biden. However, my people tell me his ads are a lot better creatively than yours. Just passing by it on.
Yep.
Bert.
Right.
You can go back.
On top of which, imagine, let's say, if we're playing this if game, if that happened with MSNBC.
Well, that's the thing. It did happen with the other media networks during the 2016 primary election against Bernie. That the major networks were coordinating with Hillary's campaign. She got to have control over what the debate schedule would look like. They were giving her positive press. That all came out in the Podesta dump. That early on she had, I think, like a lunch or something with like every major journalist and basically lined them up to do her bidding throughout the primary. That's why Bernie's campaign was so amazing, that he was able to overcome that and still do very well in the primary. He wasn't able to win, but he was able to overcome a lot of the bullshit she threw at him. So it does happen on both sides. Both of the major parties do this.
We have like any, here's some Brett Baer emails.
Oh, yeah.
This is Brett Baer, the news guy on Fox. They called Arizona. I know you guys are feeling the pressure, but the situation is getting uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. I have to keep on defending this on air and ask questions about it, and it seems we're holding on for pride. I
know the confidence.
I know the confidence you say you had in the numbers, but it's at least within the realm of possible that he closes the gap now. This is how he's freaking out about Arizona. And to be clear, the guy was named Bill Salmon.
Yeah.
Who incidentally had a long history of being a propagandist for Fox, like attacking numbers like on climate change and a bunch of other things.
Right.
Salmon said there's no doubt the gap may close, but there is absolutely no doubt that Biden's going to win Arizona. He subsequently was fired.
Wow.
And Brett Baer is going, it's hurting us. The sooner we pull it, even if it gives us a major egg, we put it back in his column, the better we are, in my opinion. He's showing an email from the viewers.
Wow.
This is the way they construct news there. Based upon, I mean, like when we're talking numbers, it's one thing like the tenor of it, they're attacking.
The American Rescue Plan could lower the cost of your health insurance, and you might even qualify for $0 monthly premiums.
Right.
Don't attack Biden so much, or be more anti-Trump. This is just straight on numbers from their news guy saying, can't we just fudge the numbers a little bit? Do we really have to be just so focused on the numbers?
Because it's making him like personally uncomfortable. He's like, I don't know what to say. I keep getting questions.
Right.
Let's go to
our viewers aren't being told what they want to hear. And especially because Trump was out there saying he was getting cheated, right? Our viewers are not being told what they want to hear, so let's figure out a way to tell them what they want to hear so that we can retain the viewership.
More on that Dominion lawsuit. Tucker Carlson, with an unidentified text recipient. So this is from 2021. He's super excited that Trump lost the election. All this stuff is redacted, incidentally. And there's really some question as to why. Because the things that you're supposed to be able to keep redacted in a lawsuit in Maryland are trade secrets, are financial secrets, and that's about it.
Yeah, I really.
And there's no justification for this, and you've got a couple of news agencies that are trying to get these redactions removed. But it's basically trying to save somebody from embarrassment. I would bet it's Murdoch.
Probably.
Tucker Carlson, that too, we know are. Okay. We are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. And then somebody says, I truly can't wait.
I think that's him, yeah.
Two, yeah, right.
Somebody else says, I want nothing more. It does feel very close. Imagine things will get nice starting around mid-February.
Tucker Carlson, I hate him passionately. I blew up at Peter Navarro today in frustration. I actually like Peter.
I wonder what that was. We should move.
I can't handle much more of this. The guy says, but he might never leave. It would be hard to ignore if the Manhattan DA or New York AG announces charges on... Yeah, it's ridiculous that people are continuing this charade. Was he pushing the idea that Pence could solve this?
Well, I'd like to see what happens when they go to court, because I imagine this is going to go to trial, right? They were just doing like the grand jury investigation and collecting evidence and deciding like who's going to be indicted and blah, blah, blah. And they haven't actually like issued an indictment against Trump yet, but they will. They will. So the question would be, who's going to get pulled into court and asked about their texts? And what sort of strategies are they working out with their own attorneys right now to try and soften the blow to Trump, right? And also try and excuse the fact that they were lying on air.
Situation. It is ridiculous that people are pushing the charade, which is exactly what he went on to do night after night. In fact, until this very day.
And then goes and does charades.
Tucker Carlson, you understand, is a charlatan.
Yeah.
He does not, and the thing is like, I don't care what my news person believes in their heart. But Tucker Carlson's capacity to lie is completely unrestrained, but for what he thinks will raise his profile, make him more famous. A lot of people I saw Atreus on Twitter today. I was like, why has this guy's got so much money? And he's an heir to
He had it to begin with, right?
$1 billion. I don't know. His stepmom, who I think is actually his mom, adopted mom, heir to the Swanson frozen foods fortune.
Right.
Massive. He also, his real mom had, I guess, a lot of oil leases or something, and he sued with his brother to get a hold of those.
Carlson attended La Jolla Country Day School and grew up in a home overlooking La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club.
Well, to be fair, he was at that day school after he went to the one in Switzerland and then the one in Newport, Rhode Island.
Oh, yeah, well, who amongst us?
Or before then, I should say. And then his parents were members of the Diamond Club at Trinity University, which is in the highest level of. So the guy's got plenty of money. And Atreus was like, why does he keep doing this? And I think it was because his mother left him, and it left him with a sort of pathological desire to achieve fame and success. And he will stop at nothing. He will lie.
Yeah. Well,
he will lie.
I mean, that's exactly what the Jimmy Dore ecosystem is doing too. Like, they clearly, Jackson Hinkle, the Convo Couch, Nico House, these people, I don't think, believe in anything that they say. They don't believe in anything they say. And somebody's paying them to do it because they keep getting demonetized. So they're getting paychecks somehow. Pasta has a house up in Pasadena with a basement that includes a green room where they were filming. I've been there. I've been in the green room. I had dinner there. Somebody's paying for that because you're not going to have, unless he inherited it somehow, but they came from Florida, so I don't think that house was an inheritance unless, like, he had some rich relative that died and left him a lot of money where he could actually buy a house. But the dude was working, his day job at the time was like chef or something. I think he was like a chef at an Italian restaurant. And Fiorella, at least this is what they told me. Like, I don't know if it's for real, but Fiorella told me that she was a waitress. And those were their day jobs. And the Convo Couch was like their pastime. It was like just something they basically did for fun, but they were probably trying to pitch it to some sort of agency that would pay them, some sort of funder, because clearly they've gotten worse and worse and worse in regards to the type of misinformation they're putting forward as well about elections, because they really started focusing on that. And that's very much a GOP talking point of misinformation to try and help along Trump's big lie.
Dan White Society in this yearbook.
Yep. Here he is complaining 2 years ago about the never-ending charade. This is on January 21st. The never-ending charade. Why are people pretending? Why are people engaging in the charade? Here he is just 2 years later, still engaging in that charade.
And after looking at thousands of hours of footage, we came to the conclusion that many others have reached, which is the Capitol Police were not prepared for what happened. And that's fascinating when you think about it, because there was ample warning. The federal intel and law enforcement agencies knew perfectly well there could be a massive disturbance at the Capitol. But the frontline officers on duty that day didn't know. And yet the people who kept that information from the frontline officers who were overwhelmed by thousands of people milling around the Capitol building, the people who milling around the job, who didn't do their job, they were not punished. They were rewarded. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Here we go.
They were rewarded. Oh, he's developing a conspiracy now.
Well, I mean, Trump was still the president at the time, Tucker, so I don't know how that helps your case, because If there was a breakdown in communication amongst law enforcement, that would have been his fucking problem. If they were not getting informed about the dangers that were around them, then those were the people he put in place of those federal agencies who were supposed to, like, the FBI should have been coordinating with the Capitol Police. There's like 5 different police agencies in DC. There's the Capitol Police, there's like the National Park Police, there's the regular DC Police, there's like 2 additional ones. Because I can't go there.
Somehow, they were encouraged to let this stuff happen. There is a question as to why the military stayed in their barracks. There is a question why the National Guard wouldn't come out. We should dig into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a question why there were some FBI agents who refused to, who pretended. Remember, they never testified publicly. Remember, after there were sources at the FBI that said that, oh no, we didn't have to restrain Trump from driving our cars.
And we'll testify about it.
Except for we won't.
Yeah.
Here is my Exhibit A as to why Tucker Carlson is a charlatan. He understood 20 years ago on a book tour for his book, Politicians, Partisans, and Parasites. This is back when he wanted to be one of these guys who had integrity. Also, I know for a fact that he went out there and shilled for the Iraq War.
Yep.
And didn't care one way or another. But he shilled for the Iraq War. It wasn't until like 2004, after the war and invasion had started, where he started to feel bad about it. Now, he didn't feel bad for the Iraqis. He went on in 2006 to go on a morning talk show and say, oh, I think they're just like monkeys. I don't care about them at all. He didn't care about the human life that was dead. He's not anti-war because it kills people. He's
anti-public opinion, right? Like, so if the majority of his viewer base has decided that they disagreed with our invasion of Iraq, then all of a sudden he has to change his position on it.
War because it's a distraction to, immiserating people in this country. But here he is in 1999, I believe this is from, writing about, among other people, Bill O'Reilly. And he has a theory about Bill O'Reilly. Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting theory, and I think it was a valid one for him to have at that time. Listen to this.
Okay.
I was down to talk to my doctor about Rybelsus.
Ask your healthcare provider about Rybelsus today.
Honest Clinton defender will say, yeah, the president didn't see terrorism in its proper context, didn't see it as important as it was.
Another quote from your book, Bill O'Reilly's success is built on the perception that he really is who he claims to be. If he ever gets caught out of character, it's over.
That's right. I say before that Bill O'Reilly's really talented. He's more talented than I am. He's got a lot more viewers than I do. He's a better communicator than I am. But I think there's kind of a deep phoniness at the center of his shtick. And again, as I say, the shtick is sort of built on this perception that he is the character he plays. He is every man. He's not right-wing, he's a populist. This kind of Irish Catholic populist fighting for you against the powers that be. And that's great as a shtick, but I'm just saying the moment that it's revealed not to be true, it's over. The moment he gets caught, slapping a flight attendant on the Concorde for not bringing his champagne fast enough, or barking at, one of his subordinates to take the, brown M&Ms out of my bowl and get me a bottle of Evian, or something like that. The second that makes page 6, it's over, right? Because the whole thing is predicated on the fact that he is who he says he is, and nobody is that person, especially not someone who makes $1 million, or many millions a year, as he does.
Okay. I don't think that's an unreasonable theory to have in 1999. The idea that Bill O'Reilly's going to be exposed. But what happened? Bill O'Reilly was never exposed as the phony that he is. He left Fox because there were millions of dollars of sexual harassment claims against him.
Right.
Millions that were unresolved, I should say. Some were actually paid off.
But that does kind of actually line up with his quote, though, about slapping an air hostess or whatever, you know. That kind of does line up with the fact that he already had some sort of internal knowledge that Bill O'Reilly was not treating women well.
Others that weren't. And I'm quite convinced that Tucker Carlson, who now portrays himself as an everyman fighting against the powers that be, realized at one point, maybe it was after he did Dances with the Stars, people forget how much in the wilderness he was, how desperate for celebrity and fame that he went on with Dancing with the Stars.
I didn't know he did this. Oh my God.
I think he realized at one point, Bill O'Reilly never got caught because it's impossible to get caught because they don't care.
He did get caught.
Because what he saw after this interview was Rush Limbaugh get arrested for being addicted to OxyContin, or arrested for trying to hide the $9,900 he was taking out of his bank accounts all the time to pay off his OxyContin dealer.
Right.
A guy who had said for years that the drug addicts were weak and useless and morally repugnant. That's what Limbaugh said. And then all of a sudden he's revealed as an oxy addict to the point where he lost his hearing. Did not impact his relationship with his audience one iota. Tucker Carlson sees that. Tucker Carlson sees Bill O'Reilly get away with all of it. Tucker Carlson has Bill O'Reilly's old spot right now.
Yeah.
On Fox. And Tucker Carlson learned a lesson. I can do this.
It's a mirror.
With impunity. I can do it with total impunity. I can lie. I can present fake news. And I will never get caught. And as long as I don't get caught, or as long as I don't sexually assault people around here, I am completely safe to do this as long as it drives revenue.
Yeah.
These hogs will eat the slop.
Absolutely. That's what he learned. He learned that lesson.
Well, and that's, it's really sad that his audience is so gullible, and they're just so willing to accept anything he says. They, I guess, really love that puzzled expression he likes to put on his face every time he's interviewing people. But for some reason they think that his information is accurate, and it's not. And he's just doing this as like clickbait, basically, because he'll get some clips out of it, that they put on YouTube or that will start circulating on Twitter or wherever it goes. But he does. He saw Rush got away with it. Bill O'Reilly. Okay, so but both of them did ultimately get caught for their vices. They weren't able to go indefinitely without getting caught. They did get caught ultimately. It wasn't in exactly the way he imagined it would happen, but they did get caught.
Very, very well. He does not care. He does not care. He wants to be famous because my guess is just that he never got over that issue with his mom leaving him. Not a nice thing to do.
I mean, I'd have to hear her side of the story.
I mean, maybe in retrospect, it looks like maybe there was some valid reasons. But that's the Tucker Carlson piece for the day.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that your show, you, your show, you know, you, 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 can make that kind of psychoanalysis about him, like what his motivations are. But he is a privileged, rich individual, and he clearly has no moral values and no ethics.